Oh, shoot, wrong person. That's better. Ugh. One of us is definitely more qualified for this than the other. Okay, welcome to another U.S. history video. I should say hello, comrades, because we will be talking about a video or a documentary called The Cold War Roadshow. This documentary was about Nikita Khrushchev coming to the United States with an invitation from Eisenhower, our president of the United States during the Cold War. And Khrushchev was the only Soviet leader that ever came to the United States. This was more risky than inviting Putin right now, even in our state. At the time, during the Cold War, there were only two superpowers, the US and the Soviet Union, but both had nuclear weapons that could decimate both civilizations and any civilization across the world. Khrushchev was actually funny, and that was something that humans got to figure out in the United States that the regular person didn't think. They thought of him as a communist pig. He also got body shamed by news reporters, and he once said to the U.S. before he had come that he was going to bury the U.S. alive, which will come up later. On September 15th, 1959, Khrushchev wanted to be accepted as a leader for a long time before this and wanted to come to the United States. When he got an invitation, he saw that he was now recognized and seen as a good leader. The plane he went on had microscopic cracks on the engine and was advised not to go on it. But he didn't want to stop in England to refuel, so he risked his life to go on this plane. He was that excited. The other planes that they had would have to had stopped in England, but he didn't want to because of the way that every other country treated the Soviet Union. So he decided to just risk his life for it. Eisenhower wanted to know how Khrushchev worked and who he really was. A senator, before he had came, suggested to take him to church in the United States. So Eisenhower took him on an 11-day tour of all the major attractions in the United States. The cover of this documentary is really funny to me. I'll put it here. Why does it look like that? Like, look at Eisenhower. Look at Khrushchev. Why they look like that? Like, ugh. On September 16th, the day that he arrived, he was greeted by a girl on the runway with a bouquet of flowers and all the senators and Eisenhower. It was the first multi-day media event hosted in the United States. Cameras were always around them. It went on for multiple days just over the same person, which was never heard of before, but now that's a regular thing in this day and age. Khrushchev tended to wave at the crowds, but he didn't realize that he was feared or hated, and everyone didn't want him to be there. He was talked really down upon, but since he couldn't understand English and he could only talk in Russian, he didn't understand what they were actually saying. American authorities were scared that someone was going to kill him during the trip, so he was always under high security. 2 days later, on September 18th, they went to New York. Protests were held there because of Khrushchev had come and were offended by the things he had said previously. Khrushchev thought he deserved better, and he wanted to prevent a surprise attack against the United States, which is why he had come, so that he could see how hospitable they were and to see if that they were a country, even being capitalist, even though the Soviet Union was communist, if they were still a good country. People yelled at him and called him a murderer and worse than that while he was walking in the streets, but he didn't know that. September 20th, Eisenhower and Khrushchev went to LA. Khrushchev really wanted to see Hollywood just to see like how they did news station, colored televisions, all of that. And each network at the end of every day that Khrushchev was there would give about a half-hour program summarizing everything that Khrushchev had done so that everyday Americans could keep up to date with him instead of watching the news stations every day live for 12 plus hours or however long that the news stations followed him. People eventually fell in love with Khrushchev's charm and became as he loosened up. Americans love talking about how you can grow up in a log cabin and become president, and Khrushchev kind of experienced this firsthand. Khrushchev used to be a shepherd and then worked in a mine and became the leader of the Soviet Union. This just goes to show no matter what government you currently have, you still have a chance to become the top. Khrushchev, while he did all of his speeches, respectfully did not promote communism so that they wouldn't get mad at him. He really wanted to go to Disneyland, but was told it was too dangerous. He became very angry over this and did a whole speech on it. This was kind of funny to me when I was watching the video because people were laughing at like this, like he was joking, but he was being serious when that he was actually angry. And then when people realized that, they started to go like stone cold and started to get scared. He thought that this was an issue of not being respected enough, but it was actually Eisenhower caring for his safety so that America wouldn't get bombed. They stayed in the LA Ambassador Hotel. He said before his trip, "We will bury you." As I said earlier, when I brought this up, this was brought up at every conference and meeting that he went to. Every governor or senator would always bring this up, and it continued to make him madder and madder. One time, he snapped and threatened to leave America early and bomb them as soon as he got back to the Soviet Union. He was that mad. He also said that if senators and governors of his country didn't keep up to date with the press like America's senators were, they would be fired. So that was kind of people started laughing at that too, but when they realized he was serious, they also was stone cold. Khrushchev also brought up that he only had 2 to 3 years of education. This goes to show that you don't have to have an education, like a real education, to be a good liar, aka a politician. September 22nd, they went to North Carolina. Khrushchev really wanted to mingle with like the everyday American since that's where he like came from, but Eisenhower's officials didn't like him. So Khrushchev made the remark that everyday people, like regular day Americans, liked him, but Eisenhower's own people didn't. There were always so many reporters that were swarming them to keep up to date with everything that happened, just in case something went wrong. And something that I thought was interesting about Khrushchev was he wasn't really fascinated with computers since they had that in the Soviet Union, but he was fascinated with the fact that we had self-serve cafeterias, and he loved this idea so much when he went to one himself. When he returned to Moscow that same week, he had ordered them to start being made. He just loved it that much. Khrushchev and Eisenhower went to Iowa to go meet Khrushchev's friend and go see his farm. Both Khrushchev and his friend were fanatics about corn, which I don't know why they had such an obsession with corn. Khrushchev even started messing with like the stalks and stuff. But while they were at the farm, his friend picked up one of the stalks that were on the ground and started like throwing them and like stabbing the reporters that were like swarming him because he was just getting so annoyed because he wasn't expecting that. The crowd was actually really friendly though, and they always wanted to shake Khrushchev's hand at this point instead of trying to call him a murderer and such like that. And Khrushchev finally realized he was recognized as a human being. On September 28th, Eisenhower and Khrushchev went to Camp David. This is where they agreed to hold the Paris Peace Conference in Paris, obviously. But this is where they wanted to like start thinking about getting their stuff sorted out for the Cold War. The point of this trip was to sort out the issues of the Cold War, but they never actually got around to it. It's more like just having fun together, like two best friends procrastinating a school project. And no, that's not from experience. Eisenhower took a power nap while they were staying there, and he had the idea to take Khrushchev to his own home, which is insane to me. When you were so afraid of him, you have enough courage in 10 days to bring him to your own home. I would not have that courage. Khrushchev had some red stars on him. 4 red stars in his pocket that he had pulled out and given to Eisenhower's grandchildren. The reason why this is crazy is because the red star is a symbol for the Soviet Union or communism. So he literally gave the President of the United States, a capitalist, the symbol of communism to his grandchildren, which I thought was crazy. When he returned, he was celebrated in the Soviet Union, and he started to prepare for Eisenhower to reciprocate what Khrushchev had, and for him to come over to the Soviet Union. But 7 months later, a U-2 spy plane was shot down over Soviet territory. It was found out it was an American spy plane. This was 1 week before the Paris conference. This could have ended the Cold War decades early. If only that Khrushchev hadn't been able to shoot it down, or Eisenhower didn't have the audacity to continue spying on a potential ally. They would have become good allies. That's just crazy to me. I don't understand it. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Both channels have been popping off recently. Thank you for over 100 subscribers on the EthioAmericanBros YouTube channel. And for some reason, the Wildebeest YouTube channel has also been doing good. I'll put a link to both of them in the description, or the other one that this is on. So this one's going to be on the Wildebeest channel first. So I will post the EthioAmericanBros YouTube channel in the description. Thank you for watching. If you continue to like the content, just stick around, turn on post notifications. Like I said, like, subscribe, post notifications, all of that, and peace. This documentary was about